Most of us have felt burnout at least once in our lives, and pharmacists are no exception. According to studies over the last 20 years, at least 1 out of every 2 pharmacists are burned out. Despite this, the common belief is that your burnout is your problem, which makes most pharmacists feel defeated before they even try to fix it. In this video, we'll be looking at what burnout is, how it happens, and my own personal journey of how I went through burnout, as well as how I've helped now hundreds and hundreds of pharmacists get over burnout and do what they love. By the end of this video, you will be able to manage some of your burnout symptoms, if not figure out some steps to cure it so that it doesn't affect your life so negatively. According to the World Health Organization, burnout is a diagnosis. It's defined by occupational, workplace, chronic, unmanaged stress. So it's kind of like depression, but it's mainly within the workplace setting. I like to think of burnout as a disconnect between who you are and what you do. If you're a pharmacist and you love helping people, and yet on a day-to-day basis, it feels like you're not helping people, but an organization or metrics, numbers, fixing things, you may feel a disconnect between your work and what you want to do. I believe this causes an erosion of the soul that ultimately can lead to harmful psychological outcomes. What makes burnout worse for so many pharmacists is that they often, not at all time, are people pleasers. They're smart, intelligent people, and so they tell themselves, why am I experiencing this? I should be able to figure this out. I'm super smart, I can do this, and yet I don't feel like I can do anything. Your batteries are empty. You don't even feel like helping yourself sometimes. It can feel like people are scared of you, like they don't know what to say, they don't know how to engage with you. Other than that, some people, it feels like, just wish you were gone. In the literature, burnout is often defined by 3 key factors. Depersonalization, which is basically being like indifferent to anything that happens, whether it's a patient or what's happening at work. It's defined by emotional exhaustion, just feeling totally depleted, like you got nothing in the bank. You have no empathy for your patients, let alone for yourself or for even your loved ones. And then finally, a lack of personal accomplishment. You just don't feel like you're ever getting ahead. You just feel like you're spinning your wheels. It's often characterized as well with increased anger and frustration. You're easily frustrated by small problems. You can be suspicious or paranoid of your coworkers. And if that wasn't enough for you personally, the National Academy of Medicine has defined so many huge consequences. Yes, of course, for healthcare organizations and patients, but for you, you're more likely to get divorced. You're more likely to be depressed or have anxiety, substance abuse, and sadly, even have a higher suicide rate if you are experiencing burnout. My journey to burnout was very unexpected. I got into ambulatory care after finishing a residency, and I was super excited. I thought I was the hottest you-know-what on the block. I was gonna make all the difference in the world for people. I was really excited. Unfortunately, I hit my first major professional roadblock. I had 2 bullies in my workplace. One was my assigned mentor, the other was my boss, and they did not like me. And I don't mean that from like a people pleaser perspective, because like I know not everyone likes me and I don't like everyone. It's the way the world works. But these 2 did not like me. One went out of their way to stalk me. They found out what I was doing on social media. They would report things that I was doing to my boss. That really knocked the wind out of my sails. It made me want to leave. It made me want to look for other places, but I just bought a house. I felt stuck. And the main symptom for me was not emotional exhaustion. It was depersonalization. I did not care. I stopped caring about my patient. And I had a huge red flag. It was at the end of the day where I had a patient call and I felt like this was a problem, not a person who needed my help. And I had to stay late for like an extra, 20, 25 minutes. Like not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. But because I was burned out, I was so easily frustrated by this. And because of this, I remember having a conversation with my wife on the way home in my car. And I was telling her, please let me go for a walk for like an hour. I can't be around you or the kids. I can't help with dinner. I need to take a break because I'm afraid if I come home and you say something or the kids say something, I'm going to flip. I'm going to yell. I'm going to be super angry. Because I had caught myself being that way before and I didn't want to do it again. And on that walk, I had decided, it was like 2014, 2015, I didn't want this to be me anymore. This wasn't who I was. I had become something unrecognizable to just me a few years ago. I used to be excited about pharmacy. I used to be happy that I had a clinical job. I used to be happy that I achieved so many of my professional goals. And yet, despite all of that, I hated what I became. And it really hurts. Typically, most people who are burned out don't feel burnt out, or maybe they kind of push it down, try to hide it. They want to maybe blame their boss or their coworkers or the organization. But really, this is a deep-seated thing that requires self-awareness. I'm so thankful for my partner because she was able to tell me like, hey, I don't think this is the right place for you. You're not happy. You need to do something else. Before I share with you what I did to get out of my situation, I want to share with you why it happens, because I think my story illustrates some reasons. The causes of burnout have been well documented, and they are work overload, so just having way too much work that you can handle within a certain time frame. The lack of support, so you just can't rely on your team. You don't trust your team or your boss or your support team. You don't feel like you can bring problems to them. You just feel like you're constantly having to give and give and give. The lack of control or autonomy. So when you're at work, you don't feel like you actually have any kind of influence over what you do. Maybe there's a micromanager present, or maybe you want to fix a problem that keeps happening, but you don't have the time to do it. A breakdown of community. This is one of the worst, and it's what really I had. Having bullying in the workplace is just not appropriate. And unfortunately, because I was a new pharmacist, I had no clue how to even handle that. The absence of fairness is often less common in pharmacy, but if you've ever had to deal with someone who has their favorites, yeah, this is a cause for burnout. People get tired of BS like that. And then finally, conflicting values. And to me, this is perhaps one of the most important and overlooked reasons, because pharmacists join the profession to help people, typically. I mean, yeah, it's nice that we get paid six figures and we don't have to touch blood, butts, or guts. The reason why conflicting values is a problem is because when we want to help people and yet we're put into jobs where we don't feel like we're helping others, there is a disconnect within our souls that causes an inner contradiction. Why am I doing this job for money where I am not even fulfilled? I don't care about this. I feel like I'm just helping a company make more money. Did you notice anything about those causes? They have one major similarity. In almost 99% of the cases, these causes are done by the environment. It's not by you. You don't cause your burnout. It is the environment. Every single time studies try to figure out how do we actually fix burnout, the ones that don't work are individual interventions. Oh, you're burnt out? Let's give you therapy. Let's do mediations. Let's do other things. It doesn't work. In fact, sometimes it can actually be worse, especially if the person is forced to do it. What does work, albeit not all that well, is affecting the system, the environment, the healthcare system. It's focusing on delegating, on providing proper staffing. It's on creating a team cohesiveness. These things fix the causes of burnout. I don't know if anyone has ever told you that your burnout is not your fault, but you need to know that. That's what the science says. And I'm so adamant and passionate about this because I went to a conference many years ago in pharmacy where the theme was resiliency. And we're going to talk about solutions for you here in a second. But resiliency, no matter how tough you are, will not fix your burnout because it's caused by the environment. You know, no matter how hard you try to train your soldiers for a war, many are going to come back emotionally and psychologically damaged by what they've seen or done. Now, training you to be more resilient isn't going to all of a sudden make burnout not happen. So Now let's talk about some of those solutions to burnout. If you have found this video so far insightful or helpful up to this point, I would really appreciate if you would like this video. It really helps us get to more people and get this message out there. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button and let us know what we could be doing differently. All right, now how can you fight your burnout? Ultimately, you can sum up all of these things that I'm about to share with you into one simple mantra: do less, not more. Everyone in America wants to pile on more money, more options, more opportunity, more everything, because more is better, right? And unfortunately, for this problem, one of the causes of burnout is doing too much. An old mentor of mine used to say, Alex, you got to stop being a human doing and just be a human being. So recommending some of these things here means, yes, doing a little bit more on the front end, but they will have major payoff. I'm going to give these recommendations to you in order of least effective, in my opinion, and what also literature points to the most effective things that you can do. And first off is self-care. And I know I've already kind of poo-pooed on that parade, but let's be honest. Mindfulness, self-awareness, meditation, these have been proven time and time again in different settings outside of burnout to be beneficial for human life. You are more likely to live longer, have better relationships, be happier and healthier. So it makes sense. These are good things that anyone should do. It's what I do. It's helped me through my depression and grief and sadness and burnout even. But in my opinion, resiliency training, when we were trying that for a while, it was hot garbage. It doesn't fix the causes. So it's only going to just like prolong the pain or make it a little bit less painful. There's a few studies out there that say that, yeah, resiliency or meditation can be helpful in the moment, but overall, system-wide, we're seeing benign effects, if anything at all. The next strategy is to get a support network. Connecting with your friends, your family, your loved ones, and yes, even your coworkers to let them know what the situation is. Burnout is pretty easy to diagnose. You can do it yourself with a one questionnaire. Relying on other people requires some self-awareness and some tact, because you're going to be telling people, I think I'm burned out. And that can be hard to confess. You know, we're intelligent, smart people as pharmacists. And yeah, there's a little bit of pride there. I think there should be. We've done a lot. But to confess that you have a problem that you can't seem to fix because you didn't cause it is hard to do. So I would recommend that if you're part of a faith community, to get more involved there, to tell your friends to check in with you, see if someone would be willing to call you once a week. Let your family and loved ones know. Getting it off your chest and not making it a secret anymore can, be the truth that sets you free. The next recommendation is seeking professional help. Yes, I do recommend a therapist. Many clients in our coaching program, before they come to us, sometimes do have a therapist that is able to help them overcome immediate problems with their burnout. Very often, what their ultimate solution is that these therapists recommend is getting a new job, and we'll get to that in a minute. Psychiatrists, they can be helpful. In the literature, there's a huge argument right now whether burnout is actually just depression caused by the workplace. And so what often psychiatrists do is they diagnose depression, sometimes, yes, burnout, and they are able to provide therapies for that as well that can be beneficial. The second most helpful tip I can give you is time off. Whether you're wanting to take sick leave, FMLA, or even just vacation time, paid time off. Look, the environment is what's causing this. Time separated from that workspace can give you clarity. It can give you like a new sense of purpose to be like, oh, okay, this is real life. This is not who I want to be, and I need to change the situation. But that time, that separation can be so helpful. What I would recommend you do is get a diagnosis of burnout and bring that as medical proof that you need an accommodation for that. There's a pharmacist right now in our coach program who was working in a very stressful situation and has taken off 2 months. And she says, I'm so happy. This has been so rejuvenating for my soul. The final most helpful tip that I can give you is to leave your job. And I know that sounds easy to say and hard to do. Maybe you've already been looking for a job, but this is the solution. Burnout isn't caused by you that can cause burnout, but in general, The environment is causing emotional pain and trauma of burnout. So leaving the environment is what can set you free. Martin Seligman, who's been deemed the grandfather of positive psychology, Martin Seligman early on in his career did this very interesting experiment. And if you're a dog lover, I'm really sorry. So am I. This isn't a fun one. They put dogs in a room and sadly they electrified the floor so that no matter where the dog went, they experienced a jolt of pain. They took those dogs out of that room and then they put a barrier in the middle, like a gate. Okay, the dog could jump over it and get to the other side. When they put the dogs back into the room, the dogs didn't try jumping over the gate. Sadly, on the other side of the gate, there was no electrified floor. From that experiment, they learned, and they called it a term, learned helplessness. And I feel like so many pharmacists get beaten down by the work system to learn helplessness. You can't change the systems. You can't try to talk to leadership. You can't suggest things that would actually help the company out and make the workplace better and more efficient and make patients happier. And so rather than try, you're beaten down. And soon you start to believing that you're not valued. Company doesn't seem to value you. Why would another company value you? Leaving a job is ultimately what I decided to do. I thought that academia was going to be my route. And I got a few interviews at different places, but sadly, I decided all of that work was not for me. I didn't like bureaucrats and academics watching. Sorry. I mean, you know what it is. It's very, very politicky in academia. So I decided to go off on my own, to create my own business. That was my path for leaving that environment behind. Now, I think you can do the same. You can find another job. There are plenty of companies out there that treat their people better than where you're at. I was just talking with a client the other day who almost said no to a new job offer. She thought, what if this new job is worse than my current one? And it reminded me of that experiment. She was so burnt out and tired and thought, I'm just not going to have a chance. And so my encouragement to you is to leave your job. Create a plan to get out of that burnout environment. Start looking for companies that treat their people better. See what other people are saying about it. But you know what? Looking for a job is difficult. It's almost like a part-time job. It's so busy and it's a lot of work. And if you're burned out, it's probably the case, and I've seen it before, where you may try for a little bit and then you fall off the bandwagon and then you don't try again for another 3 to 6 months or after you have a really bad day. It's kind of like going to the gym. Everyone starts out strong in January and then February comes around and people stop going. I've coached people over and over again to get jobs that they love in less than 6 months. And if that's something that you're interested in and you'd like to get that help to get out of this situation quickly, we would love to work with you. All you need to do is to fill out a few questions so that we can have a great call with you, and you'll talk with someone on my team about our coach program that will help you get that job. And by the off chance that a leader is watching this up to this point, you have a lot of power to change things for your people. People don't leave bad companies, they leave bad bosses, right? Kind of true. There's so much that you can contribute to make your people happier. Listening to them, actually taking actions, following through on those actions, putting them forth as the thing. You know, the thing that's missing right now in pharmacy is honestly leaders. People who can stand up to the people that just want pharmacy to be, instead of a cost center, a profit, source. We need you guys as much as you need us. And if this doesn't become a priority for you, then your people will likely leave and you're going to have higher costs, higher turnover, more mistakes, more patient deaths because of this burnout problem. Thank you for watching this video. I hope this was helpful. Please let me know in the comments what you're going through, what maybe I missed when talking about burnout. I really appreciate your feedback as it makes these videos better and better every time. So until I see you in the next one, stay curious and take care.